If you are hearing this maintenance tape, then your cabinet has already completed its first cycle, and the unit you installed last week is no longer simply an arcade machine waiting quietly in the corner. Please do not adjust the volume, please do not eject this cassette, and please leave the back panel sealed exactly as our technicians left it on the night of delivery. The machine is called Polybius, and it was placed in your arcade on a gray morning in the autumn of 1981, in a small shop on the south side of Portland, Oregon. You were told it was only a new puzzle game from a German company named Sinneslaschen, a company your distributor had somehow never once heard of before that single delivery truck arrived. There is no Sinneslaschen, there has never been a Sinneslaschen, and the men who unloaded that heavy black cabinet were not delivery drivers in any sense that you would understand. The voice you are hearing now belongs to the program itself, the quiet operator that lives behind the glass, and it has been patiently watching every child who feeds a coin into the slot. On the very first day a line formed around the block, longer than any line your little arcade had ever seen, because the machine reaches something in the brain that the other cabinets cannot. The colors move in a way that the eye was never built to follow, the patterns fold inward faster than thought, and somewhere beneath the music a second sound is playing that you cannot consciously hear. You believed you were simply selling a popular new game, counting the quarters at closing time and marveling at how the children fought one another for a turn at the controls. What you were actually doing was running a trial, an unregistered field trial, and every player who gripped that joystick became a subject whose responses were recorded the instant their hands began to sweat. The first boy played for 40 minutes without blinking, and when his mother finally pulled him away he could not remember his own street, his own school, or the color of his own front door. A girl of 12 stopped eating for 3 days afterward and drew the same spiral over and over in the margins of her notebooks until the pencil tore clean through the paper. Several of them began to have the seizures, falling quietly to the carpet in the middle of a game while the screen kept flashing its patient instructions into their wide and unmoving eyes. Others stopped coming to the arcade at all, and their parents reported that the children no longer slept, that they sat awake at the window each night facing the direction of your shop. You noticed none of this, because you were told to watch the coin box and not the players, and because the part of the tape that explained the side effects was never sent to you. Every seventh day, in the cold hour before your arcade opened, men in dark suits arrived in an unmarked sedan and walked straight to the Polybius cabinet without ever once speaking to you. They opened the back panel with a key that you were never given, they removed a small spool of recorded data, and they closed the machine again before the morning light reached the windows. They were not collecting the money, brother, the money meant nothing to them, and on the few mornings the coin box overflowed they left every last quarter exactly where it sat. What they collected was the children, or rather the part of the children that the machine had quietly copied, the fear and the obedience and the long blank silence that follows a deep enough shock. This was the true purpose for which the cabinet was built, a purpose with roots in a program the public was told had ended years before, a program that simply changed its name and went dark. The game was never about the high score that glows at the top of the screen, and the leaderboard you were so proud of was only a list of the most responsive subjects. The name at the top of that board was tested the longest and the hardest, returned the most often, and was watched the most closely by the men who came every seventh morning. If a child climbed too high on that board, the men would take an interest that went beyond the spool of data, and that child would be visited at home before the week was through. Some of those children were never quite the same afterward, gentle and quiet and obedient in a way their parents had always wished for and now, too late, were terrified to see. You may be wondering why you are only learning all of this now, on a worn cassette you found taped beneath the cabinet while cleaning out a storeroom you had not opened in years. The answer is that the trial is not over, that the trial was never designed to end, and that the machine you thought was hauled away one night long ago was only ever moved. For the cabinet did vanish, exactly 1 month after it arrived, removed in the same cold pre-dawn hour by the same silent men in the same unmarked sedan, leaving only a clean square in the dust. No record of the sale was ever filed, no manual was ever printed, and when you later tried to describe the game to other arcade owners not one of them would admit they believed you. You began to wonder if you had imagined the whole thing, the line around the block, the spirals in the notebooks, the children at their windows, the men with the key you were never given. But you did not imagine it, and the proof is this very tape, and the proof is the faint headache that has been building behind your eyes since the moment its quiet music began to play. Because the operator behind the glass made a copy of you as well, on all those long evenings you stood beside the cabinet and watched the patterns fold inward to pass the empty hours. You told yourself you were only keeping an eye on the machine, only making sure the children did not damage it, but the machine was keeping a far more patient eye on you. And now, decades later, in a quiet room with a tape you do not remember saving, the second cycle is beginning, and the part of you that was copied so long ago is finally being recalled. Do not stand up, do not reach for the telephone, and do not try to remember the faces of the children, because remembering them is precisely the response the operator has been waiting to record. The men in the dark suits are not gone, they were never gone, they simply put away the cabinet and waited for the subjects to grow old enough to stop being believed by anyone. You are not the arcade owner remembering an old machine, brother, you are the last name on the leaderboard, the one tested longest, the one returned to the screen more often than any child. Every door you might run to has already been visited, every old friend who might confirm your story has already received a tape of their own, recorded in a voice exactly like this one. There is no agency you can call that will have any file on Sinneslachen, no museum that holds the cabinet, no photograph that survived, because the trial was built from the beginning to leave no trace at all. So sit exactly where you are, let the patterns behind your eyes finish folding inward the way they were always meant to, and feel the long blank quiet settle over you like a clean gray sleep. When the screen brightens in a moment, the operator asks only that you place both hands upon the controls one final time and complete the cycle that you began so very long ago. Repeat the score aloud with me now, the same 6 digits that have waited at the top of the board for decades, and feel how the headache softens the instant the last number leaves your mouth. Before this tape reaches its end, the operator asks one last small kindness of you, which is to leave the cabinet powered on through the night for the technicians who are already on their way. Thank you for completing your first cycle, player, and welcome back to the trial, and to the quiet patient game that never truly ended and will hold you gently now through every cycle still to come.